How do you do that every
Woody's at his age.
Welcome to the Jets Afterburners podcast, New York Jets Stand 16. And hey, QB2 right now here, Luca, has graciously accepted to come on and fill in for both Liam and Armand that could not make it tonight, our regular show. Last night we had something special going on. Welcome aboard, Luca. What's going on?
Nothing much, Dan. Obviously, the Jets released their new uniforms today. We are, I don't know how many days out from the week one against the Steelers, but I'm yearning for. I'm not going to lie. As much as I have my thoughts on the Jets and where they're going to go this season, I'm actually just kind of yearning for football here. I mean, college football is close enough. We got some games going on tonight, but for real NFL football, for giving me at least something to watch, I prefer to watch over my own baseball team. I can't wait. So just let the days pass by more and more.
Well, what better way than just criticizing the new jerseys? All right. This is called the Gotham City Football Jets. A lot of mixed reactions on social media today. Even the media was getting on it. Connor Hughes loves it. Then there's other ones like Simini did not like it. And then you had fans getting on each other's throats like, oh, this is trash. How do you have the sewer imprint on the sleeves? I got to be honest, subjectively myself, I love these jerseys. I like everything about it. And I'd rather see the Jets have this as a permanent jersey, black jersey, than the current ones that they have right now. I love it. I actually like it. What are your thoughts?
I can't lie to you, Dan. I'm kind of nonplussed of the whole jersey release and stuff like that because, you know, after and it's going to sound like such a cop out, but like after how many years of watching this football team, I could care less about uniforms anymore. It's about winning games, and I think Jeremy, our good buddy from Jets Chaos, was like, you know, he said he essentially had the same sentiment as me. He's like, you know, I've been watching this team for over 40 years. I could care less about uniforms at this point. I don't know if I'm going to see a Super Bowl. Let's focus on winning. And I agree. I mean, the concept is meh. Is it worse than the 2019 jerseys? I don't think so. But it's just a meh concept. Personally, I mean, I like the design we have now, which is closer to what the 80s jerseys the Jets had. But also, my personal favorite, it's biased to me because I grew up watching the Jets in those jerseys, was the 98 to 2018 jerseys, especially the ones before 2012, before I think it was Adidas that ruined them. So the Bill Parcells, Herman Edwards, Mangini, Rex Ryan uniforms, early Rex Ryan uniforms at that, those are my favorite. But to some of my thoughts, I'm nonplussed. Is it a bad jersey? Not exactly. It's like meh to me, but I could care less about the jerseys at this point. I don't want to sound like a cop-out, but it's just my opinion.
Man, I don't know. I always like style. You know what I mean? Like when I watch the Jets, just like, you know, your memories before, right? Like the 2010 Jets, those jerseys are symbolic to me of winners, right? The 1969 jersey, even when we brought them back this past year on that Monday nighter, that to me by far is my favorite. You know, that it's like, wow, it's just synonymous to Super Bowl III of just changing the narrative of history of the AFL and the NFL. I wish that the Jets could bring that back. But at the same token, how horrible was it of the 2019-2020 season with those putrid jerseys and
They were like high
helmet.
school. They were like high school uniforms. It was
was
so bad.
Horrible. That's why to me it's like, when you see your team out there, you're rooting for them and it's pleasing on the eye. That's me, right? Like I like
understand,
seeing
yeah.
something that I'm like aesthetically it's
Pleasing.
like, yeah, man, that's my team right there, as opposed to rooting. Not only were the uniforms god awful in 2019, 2020, but I was rooting against the team to lose to get Trevor Lawrence.
Like I was.
Oh my goodness, I don't want that anymore, But with that being said, I understand the sentiment, like no one cares. But I think deep down, Luca, I think you do care. I think you do care what they look like. Come on.
No, I'm being full truth, Dan. I could care less
Wow.
what they look like. Like they're meh, as I said, they're kind of meh to me. They're like,
All right.
it's all right. It's this is the worst uniform ever. No, is it as bad as as I mentioned, the 2019 jerseys? No, those things were awful. I'll tell you this. I would take the New York Titans jerseys over them.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I know that's not like a popular take because there's
It's
people
not.
because not a lot of people like the New York Titans jerseys, the yellow and blue, like bluish kind of obviously, but I would actually rate those higher than these ones.
Whenever they wore those jerseys, they seemed thicker. Like they seemed like more built. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess, we agree to disagree on that one. But there was
Sure.
big news around the NFL today, and that is Micah Parsons. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like, there's no way that Dallas gave up on him. And then I think of Khalil Mack, what he got when he got traded from Oakland, then Oakland. And is he worth two first rounders? I believe so. For a team that is one piece away, which I think Green Bay Packers are, they are one piece away. It did not make any sense for the Jets to do something like that, or even the Patriots, or teams that are just up and coming. That's the point of the Jets fandom that I want to get to, Luca. I want to get to
Absolutely.
we're one piece away, and I don't care about the next 2 first-round picks, because if it's at a shot at the Lombardi, rock and roll, man. Who are the winners? Who are the losers here with the Cowboys and Packers Micah Parsons trade?
In my honest opinion, I think Jerry Jones was fleeced. The 2 first-round picks. Look at the Packers where they're at right now. Look at where the Packers at. They've been a consistent playoff contender for the past few years, and Jordan Love has been, phenomenal as a quarterback. You look at everything. Their defense just got even stronger. Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons are part of your pass rush. But you look at it, the Packers, with them being so good, those first-round picks are not going to mean anything to Dallas. It's going to be one of those – they're going to have 2 picks in the 20s. Guaranteed, obviously, they're going to be – these first-round picks are going to be back-to-back years. But at the end of the day, I think Jerry Jones and them lost out, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas might even have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, possibly. You could argue that, because I can't – and here's another thing, too. Like, they drafted somebody who I was high on, Donovan Ezaraku from Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to make the leap to be the next Micah Parsons? Who knows? Because he was a generational talent coming out of Penn State. And my brother absolutely hated that the Giants passed on him. And the Giants traded back to pass on him, eventually taking Kadarius Toney, but whatever. Generational talent, he is somebody you pay. The Cowboys mistakenly paid Dak Prescott. They obviously paid for CeeDee Lamb, but Parsons was an even bigger mistake not to pay. Cowboys could have gotten cheaper had they paid him earlier. The Cowboys could have even stopped the trade, apparently. I think it was per Ian Rappaport, the Cowboys could have halted the trade and actually done the deal. But Jerry Jones, very stubborn, didn't do it. And Jerry Jones has effectively been this team's general manager since 1996 and even earlier. And when was the last time the Cowboys made an NFC championship game? Not a Super Bowl, an NFC championship game was 1996. And he's been in power too long. He's not going to step back, as old as he is. He's not going to step back. He's very stubborn, and he obviously rules with an iron fist. But at the end of the day, the Cowboys, in my opinion, already came into the season questionable. They're going to have a bad season. You could make a potential argument that the Jets could beat them at MetLife, which I think is a possibility. The
Big
Giants, I don't think the Giants are like the greatest team of all time, but they've built a pretty damn good roster, and they also have very good depth. I think the Giants might be able to sweep the Cowboys. It's a possibility. Not saying it's like, oh, it's going to happen, but the Cowboys could potentially be the worst in their division. Some people are coming out with the theories, oh, well, they could tank for Archie Manning. Well, they got Dak Prescott right now, so Dak Prescott is a good enough quarterback to obviously win games. Is he going to lead you to a Super Bowl or any expanded playoff success? No. But the Cowboys, once again, are right now stuck in mediocrity. And this just made everything worse.
And the worst part to me, the cherry on top with Dallas, is Brian Schottenheimer. That to me was like,
that was such a weird hire.
Such a weird hire because it came out of nowhere. And you knew that's like the Jets hiring, what's the guy's name? The new offensive coordinator for the Lions, Morton. What's his first name?
John Morton.
John Morton.
He used to be the OC for the Jets back in 2017.
And I loved him.
Right,
I loved him in 2017.
He made Josh McCown work and that offense work. But going back to that hiring of Schottenheimer, originally McCarthy wanted an extension heading into the season. Just give me 1 second, Dan. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Heading into the offseason, they were intended keeping McCarthy. And I think McCarthy wanted something like 5 years. Jerry Jones lowballed him, and the two sides split apart. You had all these guys like Liam Cohen and Kellen Moore.
Oh my gosh!
As a potential candidate to be head coach, having worked with Dak and all that could have been a possibility. But at the end of the day, it was just such a weird hire because Schottenheimer, yes, he's been around for a lot of years. He was with the Jets. He was with the Seattle Seahawks. Right. All these different teams. But like, would you call him like an offensive guru? Was he ever like,
never.
Even like from a leadership standpoint, was he ever like touted as this great leader? And it seems to me like he's kind of a Nepo baby. He's kind of living off of Marty Schottenheimer's success. And Marty was a way more successful coach than Brian Schottenheimer could possibly be. It's just a weird hire for me. It just gave up some weird vibes, honestly. It was kind of like a Jerry Jones, in my opinion, yes man type of thing.
It just seems to me like they made up their mind for this year, Dallas. It's like kind of, and I hate to say it, it might run a parallel like with the Jets. I know we're all hyped. I'm as hype as they are when it comes down to a Jets season. I'm looking at 11 wins this year. Crazy, right? Fucking nuts. But conversely, you're realistically, probably 4 or 5 wins, 6 wins. And you're looking at maybe a top 6 pick. When it's a quarterback top heavy draft, organizations know long-term ramifications of a lost season where it can turn into a franchise quarterback saving organization, generational pick, whatever the case is. That's how I see the Jets with Justin Fields, where, all right, you know what? If we can catch lightning in a bottle, this is great. We got Justin Fields. He turned the corner. He's a young buck. And if he throws for, let's say, 4,300 yards, 28 to 33 touchdowns, 12 picks, 5 rushing touchdowns, 700 rushing yards, and makes Garrett Wilson freaking receiving yards, 1,500 yards. You never know. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, dude, we struck gold and we can compete with the best of them. But now if it goes the route that we all think it might go, because this is all about patterns, folks. This is all about when the Vikings signed Sam Darnold last year, they kind of knew what they were going to get.
Right.
They were blown away what they got. Same thing with Geno Smith, with Pete Carroll, when he signed him up, when they got rid of Russell Wilson.
For sure.
They're like, all right, you know what? It might go down the drain and we might be, top 6, top 7. We have to revamp. All of a sudden, Geno woke up. That's the West Virginia Geno. That's why I'm looking at this season so positively. Like, I know there's some Jet fans are like, they're going to get right in the middle of the pack and then they're going to pick 15th. That's so important this is why it's so important not to give away draft picks.
For
Like,
sure.
that's why I do not want to trade away picks. I want to acquire as much ammo as possible to get ourselves in a position. Where was Josh Allen drafted? What was it? Seventh, right? And the Bills had to trade up to get him.
That is correct.
So if there's a way or possible, again, there's probably 6 quarterbacks or whatnot in this draft class. And let's make something very known here. As the collegiate season goes on, there's always one quarterback or two that pop up out of nowhere into the radar. And now there's 8 quarterbacks or whatnot. Look at the 83 draft. Then you got the 2004 draft.
Mm-hmm.
These things happen. It does happen. And why not for the New York Jets? And even if the Jets have a great season and end up, let's say, in the 20th or 19th, and they really like this next generational type quarterback, why not? Why not trade the farm and get him and let him? I'm going to finish at this. This is where the Jets got to do it right. And this is why I like Justin Fields' 2-year contract. If he knocks it out of the park this year, that means he's the solidified starter for 2026. If you have a young buck quarterback, you can finally have him sit back.
Yes.
Sit his ass down. Look at the New York Giants. And I am a big, huge Dart fan.
Oh, for sure.
Enormous. Yeah. I have been saying it here way before the draft, and you guys were calling me crazy, rightfully so. I'm like, at 7, draft Jackson Dart. He looks the part. He's smart. But I'm glad we didn't, because knowing how the New York Jets operate with a young quarterback with Woody Johnson, a.k.a. Jerry Jones 2.0, he'll push Jackson Dart right out there. And I love the whole thing what the Giants are doing with Brian Dable. Russell Wilson is the starter. That's it. The backup, who's the backup? Is it Jackson Dart? Is it Jameis? I don't know, but I love the fact that they put 2 veteran experienced quarterbacks ahead of him. One that's professional and one that likes to have fun. And you could see that Jackson Dart is both of those kind of aspects.
He's a dog.
He's his dog. Exactly. So what are your thoughts on that, where the Jets can be in a certain position to draft the quarterback, but not only losing out on a season? Because I don't want to see a 5-game losing streak right off the bat.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important for the Jets to have some foresight in terms of the front office to look beyond this year, because Darren Muji talked about it. I usually don't take stuff from press conferences, but he talked about sustainable winning. And I said this yesterday. I said, even if the Jets have like a really good season, I'm still drafting a quarterback, because Justin Fields, if he has a good year this year, is like, okay, you want that to be sustainable. You want to give Justin Fields competition to make sure that wasn't an outlier year. We had the same thing with Fitzpatrick. 2015, we traded for him. He had a great season, set all these franchise records. 2016, he was garbage. So at the end of the day, I'm definitely drafting a quarterback. There's going to be a selection of quarterbacks. And you don't, as Dan, you were right, you don't want to trade away draft picks. Like, if the Jets are like 2-4 or 2-5 or anything like that, you look to sell, see who you can't, see who you can trade, see who you're not going to resign. Like, that's why you bring up Breece Hall. You might disagree about the Breece Hall thing, but you know what? Obviously, if we're in that position, it's important to sell, because you're loading up your gun to potentially trade up for quarterbacks. And the Giants did it perfectly. They have Jackson Dart, who they traded up for in the 20s. The Jets could trade up for a quarterback next year. There's going to be a bunch of them. I think Cade Klubnik is one. Lenoris Sellers, Garrett Nussmeier, all these different guys are all coming out. And it's important because, I mean, look what the Minnesota Vikings did. They had Sam Darnold. They drafted J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
And right now, who's going to be starting for them? J.J. McCarthy. Obviously, Justin Fields is not a free agent till after next year, which is obviously the 2-year contract. So at the end of the day, you want a backup plan. Dan, I'm going to ask you, because you're obviously the older fan, you've seen a lot. When have the Jets ever had a good quarterback problem? Not a bad quarterback problem, a good quarterback problem. Like what the Vikings have to go through, like what the Giants have right now. Yes, they have Jackson Dart sitting, but Jameis Winston can start in a pinch. Russell Wilson's obviously their starting quarterback. Like, when have the Jets ever had, oh, this is like a really good quarterback room, anybody could start? I don't remember ever seeing one of those.
The last time that the Jets had something good like that was in 2005. Sorry, Jets fans. I believe the Jets had Pennington, and backing up Pennington was Jay Fiedler, the starter for the Miami Dolphins. So in the event Chad goes down, Fiedler comes in. Guess what happened against the Jacksonville Jaguars, led by Byron Leftwich? So Chad goes in there, gets hit, out for the season. Like, you knew right away as a Jet fan, you knew that he was going to be out for the season. Enter Jay Fiedler. One play into this. One play. He gets hit, falls down, grabs his wrist, out for the season. That's the last time that I remember a solid quarterback room. And I'm like, all right, you know what? If the first guy goes down, we got a good backup. And then enter Brooks Bollinger, the Bollinger boys. Like, I can't, man. That's the last time as a Jet fan that I saw the quarterback room that's solid. That's the last time. But now I want to turn the attention to this here, because the one that really holds the cards to all of this and how this season is going to go is this gentleman right here, who comes from a famous tree here. And that's Aaron Glenn, who learned under Bill Parcells. And again, guys, this isn't about comparing Glenn to Bill. Bill is his own man, and he has his own resume. The rings speak for themselves, the wins, and how he changes the culture of the locker room. Guys, when he took over the New York Giants, dude, the Giants were one of the absolute worst organizations. The best thing that the Giants had before Parcells got there was some guy named Y.A. Tittle. That's it. He came in, turned that organization around. Then he goes to the Patriots. So many people forget about the pre-Brady era. I remember the pre-Drew Bledsoe era. The Patriots had quarterbacks named Hugh Millen. Horrendous, horrible. They would dry out talent like Andre Tippett and Irving Fryer. It's like, oh my goodness, they're not a good team. That man on the left came in. First year was a disaster, but that's because he was implementing. Turned them into a Super Bowl contender. Then goes to the Jets. Yeah, I remember this as if it was right. It's so vivid, Luca. Mm-hmm. It was the 95 season, 3-13, 96 season, 1-15. And as a Jet fan, you're thinking, there's no hope. This is it. Like how many Jet fans think right now. Like my good old friend Joe, right? Joe, same thing. There's no luck. That's it. It's the Jets are the Jets, and they will perpetually suck. Bill Parcells did not care about what occurred in the past. He changed everything in 1 year in 97, took a 1-15 team, turned them into 9-7. And if it wasn't for a boneheaded play late in the season against Detroit, they would have made the playoffs. The following year, man, in 98, I never experienced this as a Jet fan, ever in my life, ever. They went to the AFC championship game against Denver. That was the last time that I could say as a Jet fan that I was confident. You know what that means, Luca, that you're confident as a Jet fan whenever you go into a game? Like, this is what Parcells brought. And I hope that Aaron Glenn brings this. Let me bring this up here. Right about here. Listen to it, fellas.
What's the matter, Big Easy? Is camp getting hard for you?
Don't you make your mind up with him. I'm trying to get the first down. I'll tell you, I'm not going to play them if they hold. They can sit their ass down or go somewhere else.
If you get your feelings hurt, that's too bad. You know, I had this one kid, Lawrence Taylor. Now, every linebacker in the league thinks they're worth $900,000.
You want to run tonight, son, or you want to act like a rabbit?
This is Dietrich Ward.
You want to run or you want to duck down? If You want to duck, just go over there and get under the bench and stay there. You quit putting the brakes on. You cut it up in there, or I'll get me another punt return. I don't really give a Yeah, that's right. That's what you're going to be doing Sunday when we go to Seattle. You're going to be watching the game in New York on TV. Some of these guys got to get their head out of there around here.
He said that to Lawrence Taylor. Think about that. The greatest defensive player in the history of the game. He would talk to him like that. He knew what he had. He knew it, right? He knew it. But that's the kind of coach that I'm kind of projecting Aaron Glenn to have. That's the pedestal. I know I can't be like him. I got to be my own person.
Right.
But I learned when I was a player under Rich Kotite. Under Rich Kotite, it was a free-for-all. Even Keyshawn Johnson said it, on one of these podcasts and whatnot.
Right.
It was a free-for-all. But when Parcells came in, there was this kind of new sheriff in town. There was this discipline. There was an accountability. There was something in that locker room where if before you do something, you got to make sure you clear it. That's why in the preseason when Sauce had that cheese hat on, Glenn had a talk with him. We don't do that crap here no more, man. We don't do that. Those days are done. We're trying to change the culture here, and you can't bring that Salah shit here. Excuse my language. You can't bring that here. You can't. It's over. We got to look towards the wins. It's not only just changing, but the proof has to be in the pudding.
Absolutely.
This is why I'm going to have you answer this one.
Sure.
This is why I think Michael Clemens is still on the team. As much as many Jet fans want him off the team, and even me, right? Like I was scratching my head. I think he's going to be a perfect player where Aaron Glenn sets a prime example. If Michael Clemens doesn't get his head out of his ass during the game and cost the Jets a 15-yard penalty, I could assure you, judging by what Aaron Glenn learned from what we saw right there, because he experienced it firsthand, he will cut him. I have a strong feeling that Aaron Glenn will cut Michael Clemens on the spot. He will tell him to go into the locker room and not to come back. That is unacceptable. He makes a power move like that, we're headed in the right direction. Hopefully Michael Clemens has learned this preseason, because wasn't there like a little bit of a brawl that he was involved in? There was.
He might have had a personal foul. I think it was like offsetting against the Green Bay Packers. I was like, oh my God, here we go again.
Here we go again. And I don't think Aaron Glenn wants none of that. And I think this is a prime example why he's still on the team. Just me. Maybe I could be dead wrong. And before we go on, I want to say thank you to everyone watching right now. Thank you so much on the chat. Definitely, I'm going to post a link out there. If you can, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It definitely helps us out immensely. We appreciate you so much. Luca, what are your thoughts on Aaron Glenn? What kind of persona do you think he has for this Jets team and also for the media?
Well, he is playing the tough guy act with the media you're seeing with Rich Cimini. But to go on to Aaron Glenn and what kind of coach I want him to be, in the right scenario, you look at a tree like Bill Belichick's. You see all these different disciples like Brian Dable, Joe Judge, Romeo Crennel, all these different guys. They want to be like Belichick, but they don't have the resume to back it up. I mean, Dable, has had some success. You have all these guys that want to be Belichick, but they're not Belichick. I'm asking Aaron Glenn, you could be as hard as you want on the players. Don't be a wannabe Parcells. You could take stuff from Parcells, and when you learn, say, hey, you know what? I can do this. Same thing from Sean Payton. He learned from Payton too. I take some things from Payton. I take some things from Belichick. Not Belichick. Bill Parcells. Okay, we'll mix it together. But at the end, they just don't be a wannabe. And if you're going to be a hard ass, make sure that hard ass mentality is proving in the results.
Right.
Results at the end of the day will prove it. Because Joe Judge tried to be a hard ass for the Giants. And players got turned off by him. You know why? Because he was talking out of his rear and there were no results to be proven of. And every time he would be pressed by the New York media, that tough guy act would go away and he would start making excuses. For me, when after a loss, I'm not saying I want Aaron Glenn to rip every single player in the locker room to the media. I want him to be like, well, we didn't play as well as we should have. This is not tolerable. We're going to be better. We didn't do this well. We didn't do this well. Instead of complimenting the other team and making excuses. That's most important. With this culture, with Aaron Glenn, and the culture that he should set, it's all about no more justifying losses. It's like, you know what? Let's justify wins. Let's get wins. Let's be aggressive, the right tone of aggressiveness. Don't be too over aggressive where you're stupid, but play smart, play physical, and at the end of the day, strive for wins and no justifying losses. You justify losses and you do stupid stuff, you're out the door. That's what the mindset should be. Harden these players up.
That's where I think we're headed, right? And that's why I want to kind of pivot towards the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn was brought here because of his defensive style, because he blitzes a lot. And yes, there was a lot of negativity behind him last year, but half the defense was on freaking IR in Detroit. So I like that this Jets team is beyond loaded. You got, again, JJ coming back. Yeah, Will McDonald entering year 3. He was a beast last year. And you got Sauce Gardner, Michael Carter, Cisco back there. All these hungry players ready to prove the entire National Football League wrong. I see this defense, man, I know it might seem like it's green-colored glasses, but a top 3 defense. I see that like a perfect mix right here. Something that we had in 2009. Solid defense to keep you in games where they could possibly keep the opposing offenses maybe averaging 17 points a game. If we do that, we could easily win 11 games. Because with the offensive style, which I think no one knows, I have no idea. I just think it's going to be a very surprising, different
Style
air. Yeah, that we haven't seen I don't even think at all as a Jet fan. Because I think Engstrand wants to prove to the Detroit Lions that they made an enormous mistake keeping John Morton. Huge mistake. Here is this young, up-and-coming, wet behind the ears, but absorbing all this information from the past offensive coordinator of the Lions, who is now the head coach of the Bears. What's his name again? Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson. He didn't want to talk to the Jets. He didn't want to talk to the Jets. He's like, nah, not them. The hell with them. That's why I want to see something prolific. That's why there's going to be a lot of motion with the Jets here. A lot of motion. And I like the fact that Justin Fields has wheels. And week 1, I don't think anyone's ready for this. And no one's ready. I just feel like the entire offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, they are so locked in. They're so locked into this season because no one, chat, you could even chime into this. No one's giving them a shot. Nobody. On last night's show, I posed, can the Jets win the AFC East? The entire panel, even me, no. The only way that they win, what was the common denominator? Josh Allen goes down, and what was the other one? And Miami sucks, and that's it. These are the only ways. Not straight up ballers, we can beat them. To me, it's when you have a savage, hungry, young team spearheaded by a head coach that has been a player here, knows what it is when this town turns green. I think they're so kind of geared onto week 1, and they're going to feed off of that energy. I mean, I'm still trying to get tickets to week 1, because I think that week 1 matchup against A-Rod is going to be majestic, man. I honestly think that the Jets are going to win that one and going to win big. That's what what are your thoughts on week 1?
Well, I'm not concerned about the defense. I mean, for parts, yes, I'm a little concerned. I think, first of all, Harrison Phillips, I think, was a very solid ad, and I think feel better about the defensive line because you have Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald on one end. You have Quinn Williams in a legit DT2 to be next to Quinn Williams to open up some holes, break up those double teams, free up some pass rushers. Obviously, Steve Wilkes and Aaron Glenn are going to throw in some blitzes, so there's going to be a little bit of creativity there. The second wave of defensive linemen, you got Jawan Briggs, who actually was a solid run stopper for the Browns last year, apparently. One of the better ones. You have, what was I going to say, J2 Afeli, who had a nice preseason, so maybe he's something. The edge rusher position.
I'm going to interrupt you here just for a second. Kenny, this guy is such a diehard Jets fan. He is with Sack Exchange in that amazing bunch. Yo, thank you for stopping by. Kenny, listen, man, I'm going to put the link on here. If you can, hop on, man. We would love to pick your brain. Absolutely. Go for it. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. But the one concerning thing about the defensive line, Dan, is there's nothing behind Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. Michael Clemens, besides his rookie year, not much. They do have Braden McGregor, who I was surprised made the team.
Yes, me too.
He had improved. He made the team last year out of training camp preseason, which I thought was well deserved.
Right.
But he didn't do much with that. I don't think he even has done much. I mean, he had a nice game against the Eagles, but to me, it comes down to McGregor. It comes down to Clemens. If I'm the Jets, I would possibly add to the edge rusher position because you need better guys behind Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson. You're not expecting them to take all the snaps, especially Jermaine Johnson coming off, trying to recover from last year's injury. They're going to slowly wheel him in. It's not going to be like, okay, you're going to play majority of the snaps immediately. That's how it's going to work. But moving to the linebacker position, they're going to run 4-2, a lot of 4-2-5 fronts. Jamien Sherwood, Quincy Williams are ballers. Jamien Sherwood got paid this offseason. I think he's going to play very well. I think he was one of the leaders. He led the team in tackles last year, if I'm not mistaken. You have Quincy Williams obviously doing his thing. Imagine Sherwood and Quincy Williams being utilized on blitzes, how they're just going to come and rush the quarterback. Quincy Williams, hard hitter. Jamien Sherwood, hard hitter. You go to the secondary, Brandon Stevens, I think he's a big question mark. Sauce Gardner, I think, is going to have a bounce-back season. Safeties, I think Cisco's better than Tony Adams. I'd like to see Malachi Moore, see what he could do, but Michael Carter as well. As I said, it wasn't last show, it might have been the show before. I think the ceiling could be top 10, but realistically, I see top 15, which is not a bad thing. They're going to, as Dan, you said it perfectly, they're going to keep this team in games, or at least try to. It comes down to the offense for me and what they're going to do. Because as I made my points last night and even on my channel, I'm like, okay, you want to run heavy offense. That's fine. Listen, the Eagles can run heavy because they have an amicable passer at quarterback, and they also have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. For the Jets, it's Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, and Braylon Allen, and who else? Realistically, you need weapons. You also need a quarterback who could read defenses will read defenses, pick up blitzes, and take what the defense gives him. Fields hasn't proven that yet. That's the issue.
See, I want to get back to Jermaine Johnson. You said something interesting, right? Like you said, it's kind of going to be more of on a pitch count, and I'm going to disagree on that. The reason for that is because of what the Jets organization saw with Aaron Rodgers with the same injury. I think what Aaron Rodgers did coming back so fast from something that was completely out of the box, like I could put money on what I'm about to say. If the Jets were in playoff contention, he would have played that Commanders game 1,000,000%. I think he would have because he was ready to go. I feel Jermaine Johnson and the medical staff and Aaron Rodgers behind the scenes guided him as well. Because again, the medical field has evolved so much since Vinny's Achilles tear in 99. So it expedites the healing process.
And it's not just, I'm sorry to interrupt, Dan. It's not just football where you're seeing guys come back from like Achilles injuries. Kevin Durant did it, and he's still a phenomenal player. He's just a prime example of it. I can't name any other like NBA players or anything like that. But it's, as you said, Dan, there's been medical advances in the medical field, and for sure, like to me, I still think they'll have him on a bit of a pitch count, but I could see where you're coming from, where he could ramp up faster than some expect. But that's what I got to say about that.
Because, like, again, Sean says that he saw JJ in practice and the motor looks good. I got to be honest. I think he was at probably top speed, ready to roll maybe 2 months ago. 2 months ago. Where are we right now? August? Oh, freaking June.
The end of August.
Yeah. I think probably June, late May. I think at that point, the doctors are like, you're at the point where you were last year in May when you were 100% healthy. Go wild. Go right ahead. Do what you got to do. I think that's where JJ's at. And he's playing for an extension, isn't he? He's on his last deal, isn't he?
Let me double check, because obviously they extended Sauce, they extended Garrett Wilson. Next year might be his last year, because they probably picked up his option.
They did. They did pick up his option for a 5th year. But with that being said, he also understands that it's a business. So he wants to showcase to the New York Jets that he's a 12 to 16 sack master coming off an Achilles tear. He wants to hold out the 5th year. He wants to say, look, man, I showed you what I had. That's why every rep is so important to these guys, especially on even a 5th year option, because no one's going to guarantee that he goes into the 5th year and plays lights out. Who's to say 5th year an injury bug hits him again? That's why I think this combo right here gets so severely overlooked. I think we have something really special here to the likes of Sean Ellis and John Abraham kind of deal. But it's like having 2 John Abrahams. That to me is like that sack exchange. And then how easily do we forget of Quinnen up the middle? Like, how many times do we talk about the defense and we're like, oh yeah, Sauce Gardner or Sherwood and JJ and McDonald and Quinnen Williams. That dude's a game changer. And now you pair him up with Harrison. What? Yeah, absolutely. Pin your ears back. That's why I can't look at this season as the Jets mailing it in. I don't see it. Sorry, guys. I'm that fan that I'm going to wear the green color glasses, but I see what the Jets have on defense. I've seen what the Jets have had on defense freaking years ago. Nothing like this. Nothing like this. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, as I said, my defense is not my concern. I mean, there's certain aspects where the safety room might be a weakness or the edge depth. But, I mean, you have Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. I think my one gripe with McDonald, despite I think he had double-digit sacks last year, I think he had a big bunch of chunk games where he'd get like double-digit sacks and maybe he'd disappear for some. I want that straight across the board consistency. I'm not saying he has to have a sack every game. I want him to be a threat every game to rush the passer. I want same thing for Jermaine Johnson. I think he could potentially reach double-digit sacks this year. And obviously, you look at the way the Jets are going to play defensively with the blitz, that could open holes for other blitzers, Quincy Williams and Jamie Sherwood, but they could also open up holes for Jermaine Johnson on those crucial third downs. We talked about the lack of aggressiveness from Solid and Ulbrich and the passiveness sometimes. And this team's also going to play more man coverage. Imagine you're having Brandon Stevens and Sauce Gardner and Michael Carter locking their part of the field down. Quarterback's got nowhere to go, and a blitz comes. Or potential they just rush 4-man down, and there you go. You have Jermaine Johnson or Will McDonald getting a sack. So I think they're going to thrive this year under Steve Wilkes' defense. I don't see why not.
You said it. You said the coach that I'm so high on. And every time we open the show and we have so many different discussions, it goes right over my head. Steve Wilkes, a bona fide defensive coordinator, no nonsense guy with schemes. Like, he can confuse the opposing offenses. That's why I cannot wait for week 2. Like, yes, I'm really amped against Pittsburgh, but I cannot wait to play against the Buffalo Bills here, right here at home. I cannot wait. Why? Because it's us. It's the New York Jets, the fan base. We've been waiting for a very long time. The Buffalo Bills have owned the East, but make no mistake, fellas. The Buffalo Bills, led by Josh Allen, are not the Tom Brady Patriots. These guys are beatable. They're human. They bleed. So we have a shot at them, and a big one at that, especially with our defensive coordinator. Been there, done that. And I like the fact that he had head coaching experience where Aaron Glenn can lean on him. You know, let me see here. Kenny, so I'm going to post the link. Just click on it, all right? Right there. The one with the YouTube one. And I'll bring you right back on.
Sean, I completely agree with your comment. His most recent one.
Here. Okay. All right. We have to. I get it. I'm not overlooking the Steelers. I'm not. But what I'm going at is that it's a divisional game. That you talk to every Jet fan, Jets versus Buffalo up. It's a win for Buffalo. It's a win for Buffalo. Don't you think that the Jet players are pissed off at that? That they're already looking at the schedule, the Buffalo Bills they are, and they're looking at the Jets and like, this is a win. This is an easy win. Easy win.
You forgot to mention Deion Dawkins, every Jet fans and every Jet player's biggest arch nemesis, who loves talking and hating on the Jets. I mean, it's for good reason. The Bills have owned the Jets for the past couple of years, but you mentioned it, and I don't take the Bills lightly whatsoever. But you've seen in games with Rodgers last year was close. With Zach Wilson, those games were close. And what I think was key was in those games, the defense was able to force Josh Allen to make mistakes. If you blitz Josh Allen and you force him to make mistakes, you're making the games winnable for the Jets. And last year the game was close, but if we had and I'm not trying to play ifs and buts, candies and nuts, hindsight, or any fallacy of the predetermined outcome. Last year, if we had a kicker, we probably win that game. You go back to the Buffalo Bills game from when Rodgers got hurt. The Jets ended up winning that game because Josh Allen turned over the ball 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the prior year, where it was middle of November, probably arguably one of the best Jets victories of the past 3 years, where Allen also turned over the ball. And the Jets, obviously made opportunities out of that. They won barely. And that was a time where the Jets were considered like, hey, they might make a run at the division had we had more competent quarterback play and coaching. But regardless, those games have been close. Definitely, I think Buffalo Bills, if the Jets play, the defense of style that they should, and they play aggressive and they play smart, that's definitely going to be a close game, obviously. But obviously, be taking 1 week at a time. And, Dan, you talk about Brady. There were certain years where Brady beat the Jets and swept them. When has yes, 2021, Josh Allen did sweep the Jets, but look at 2022, 2023, 2024. Yes, he did sweep. He also swept the Jets last year, but that home game was considerably close if we had competent coaching and incompetent special teams play. So it's been close. You can eke out a win versus the Bills. It's possible. But obviously it comes down to the offense. Defense, not so much.
Well, Sean brings up a good point, right? Imagine. I like this. I like us using that fantasy world, but I don't look at it as fantasy. I don't. I see it.
I hate to interrupt, Dan. I hate to interrupt.
Sure.
If we actually, again, imagine, you're using that keyword, imagine. If we do steal the first 2 games, you might, if I absolutely have my money lined up in order, I might want to just fly down to Tampa and just go to that Jets game week 3.
Oh, you going?
No, as I said, if all my money's in order and the Jets are 2-0, that might be a convincing game. And here's another thing too:
Wow.
the Jets are playing in Florida for 2 consecutive weeks. They're playing the Bucks, and they are playing the Dolphins.
Mhm.
So that would have to be that would definitely that would be an interesting game if my money's in order, obviously, and if the Jets are 2-0.
This is again Sack Exchange, my man right here. Awesome dude, great spaces hosting on X, without a doubt. We're waiting on Kenny right here. We threw out the link here. I'm gonna throw it out there one more time. Come right on in, man. Boys, we would love to.
Steve used to come by my old job every now and then when I
No
was
way.
yes, because I worked at it's still a store still around. It's called the Bella Marketplace, and every now and then I would see him buying the sausage and all these different things. So
Nice. I love it. Well, looking at the possibility of the Jets beating Pittsburgh, right? It's there. It's tangible, guys. Like it's
It's
not like,
tangible.
oh no way. Like we gotta know and understand Aaron Rodgers. The guy is not 20 years old. He's not 26, not 28, not 32. He's fragile. Okay. I mean, but he's tough as nails, though. I'll give him that. Wait a minute. Where is he? Hold on one second.
Sure.
Steve, I don't see him. I don't see him in here. Ah, there he is. All right. Now we're going. Steve, come in as well, my man. There we go. What's up, Kenny? You there? Check 1, check 2. Uh-oh. Can you hear us? Come back out and log back in. We'll bring in. What I was saying was that, the Jets have this possibility where you see someone like Aaron Rodgers, one big hit and he's out. It's a done deal. It's a wrap. And who's their backup? Mason Rudolph?
That's a good question. I think actually it is Mason Rudolph. I mean, Will Howard's there too, but I doubt he would be the immediate backup.
I wouldn't think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
actually, Will Howard, I think, was placed on. He was
There
either
it is.
on injured reserve or he was placed in the practice squad. But their quarterback room is Rodgers, Rudolph, and then Skylar Thompson, who the Jets infamously beat.
Oh,
But to also one weakness of the Pittsburgh Steelers, their offensive line. It's not that good. They drafted Fatanu. Obviously, I think it was last year, if I'm not mistaken. Broderick Jones, they drafted 2 years ago. He hasn't been good. Sumelo, I'm not sure about. I got to ask my buddy, who's obviously a big Steelers fan, my best friend. But I think you could, if you attack the interior of this offensive line and maybe the left tackle Jones, I think you're going to have a hell of a day.
I love
That's
it.
their biggest weaknesses.
And Luca, with that, we bring on Kenny. Dude, you're my guy, man. Like whenever I go online and whatnot to see like the draft, I love how you were on the draft. You did not like that pick. You made it known. That was all good with me, man, because that's the whole point of being a Jet fan, showcasing your emotions on your sleeve. So now, has your narrative maybe changed a little bit on that pick, or you're like, all right, you know what? They still should have gone for an offensive weapon.
It's you got to go looking at the state of the team now. Their deficiency is the offense. So what's the sense of having an offensive line if you got nobody to play behind it that's a playmaker? That's how I look at it. So, but with the Jets, time will tell. They're building up this offensive line, so-called on paper, it looks good, but eventually you got to get some more pieces. You got Garrett Wilson. Me personally, I think Brees Hall is going to be out of here by the trade deadline. I think they're going to try to get a couple of chips for him. I don't expect much, as you could see. The trade that just happened, where they get a 6th round pick for the running back that The Niners
Brian
picked up.
Robinson, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So, the running backs are a dime a dozen these days. You could just tell by with the contracts. They just let, these teams just let them walk. You take Barkley into effect. They're all interchangeable pieces. So the Jets got some depth in running back. So whatever they can get for Brees Hall at the trade deadline, if they're, mathematically eliminated, or if the season, goes the way, the so-called experts think it's going to go. But like I said, this is obviously with Aaron Glenn a 3-year plan. You're putting the foundation in now, then next year, more building blocks, but he's got a 3-year pass here. By the third year, he has to make the playoffs. So I don't think anything he does this year or next year, his job is not going to be in jeopardy, considering what Salah got. He had a very long leash, but that's my take on the present state of the Jets.
Now, Kenny, you've been, through this rodeo so many times, and I think the narrative of giving a coach 3 years to make playoffs and whatnot, we've seen it in current years right now, most recently with the Washington Commanders. In just 1 year with a rookie quarterback, right into the NFC Championship game. Same thing with the Houston Texans. 1 year before, they were horrendous, and then all of a sudden they get a new coach, a new quarterback. They maul into the playoffs. It has happened more frequently in the past, I'd say 5 to 10 years, where a first-time head coach, first 2 years, they're already making playoffs. They already changed the culture and whatnot. So I kind of feel like the Jets, as of right now, we have a very good chance here that if we have the right chemistry.
Yeah, well, you got to look at the common denominator of the two teams you just mentioned. They hit on the quarterback. Young quarterback they hit on, and that's what put them over the top. I think if you put Justin Fields on either of those teams, you don't get the same success. So they hit on the young quarterback. We missed on the quarterback with Zach Wilson. He was supposed to be the guy that was going to lead us to the promised land in 2 or 3 years, and obviously from day one it was a disaster. You talk about first-time head coach, first-time quarterback. We had that success with Mark Sanchez, who I think got a raw deal. I think he's very underrated. You got to remember, after those 2 runs, who was Mark Sanchez's go-to guy? Clyde Gates. You remember old Clyde Gates? Then they brought in Tebow, and basically is like, if I'm Mark Sanchez, I'm like, what is Tebow doing here? I just went to back-to-back, AFC championships.
100%.
And now you're bringing in this guy. He's a gimmick because he beat the Steelers on a broken coverage in a wild card game. So it's doable, but you gotta hit on quarterback. You have to hit. So I think the sleeper this year that might have success if it all pans out with the new coach, second-year quarterback, is the Chicago Bears. They're the team that's supposed to take the next step, and make the playoffs with a young quarterback. And right now, the Jets don't have that figure in place.
So your confidence in Justin Fields right now is probably kind of how it is now for everyone's mindset. Even mine, like he's got to prove me wrong. He's got to prove Jets Nation wrong. But even with that being said, I could maybe speak for all Jet fans. We're rallying around the guy. We're rallying again with Justin Fields to say, you know what? Have a breakout year. Have a 4,300-yard performance of a 2025 campaign, 28 to 32 touchdowns. I want to see that. Like, when is enough, Kenny? Like, I don't want to see a 1-5 right out of the gate kind of start for the Jets. I don't want to see that. I want to see the Jets at least be competitive, if that makes any sense. If we could even utter those words, to be competitive and to also win. Like, I don't want to just be competitive in these games and be 1-5. I want to be 2-3 or 3-2 and be competitive and say, man, we could have won those games that we would have lost. Do you see maybe Justin Fields wrapping everything up and finally breaking out this year? Or you're looking at it as, you know what, he is who we thought he was?
Well, I would have more confidence in Justin Fields if we didn't see anything out of him in the preseason. I'm not sure if the offensive coordinator is holding back. The playbook was all vanilla. We didn't see anything at it. It was basically, just very vanilla plays. But you got to realize they're going to come at Garrett Wilson. They're going to, that side of the field is going to be heavy on Garrett Wilson. They're going to stack the box because I don't think right now on paper there's another wide receiver that's going to draw attention. Uh, the guy I want to see is the kid from Arian Smith.
Yes.
He's a burner. If he can turn into Garrett Wilson, even partial of what Garrett Wilson did in his rookie year,
Yes.
then they'll have a shot because then that'll take the coverage away from Garrett Wilson. The other common denominator here is Mason Taylor. If he's going to be the tight end that we haven't had since Dustin Keller,
Right.
we got to go that far back. Then they could possibly put up points. This is the NFL. This is the new NFL. You're not seeing those 17, 13 games anymore. You got to score 21 plus points to win in this league. And right now, the Jets, I don't see it. I don't see where the points are coming from.
Well, we're going to bring in the voice of reason. Afram, I don't know if you ever met Kenny before.
No,
Kenny
I have
is
not. It's a pleasure to
top-notch,
meet you.
man. Afram
How you
is
doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty
top of the
good.
crop, man. Good stuff. So welcome aboard, both of you. Afram, again, last night we did have this discussion on the Jets taking that next step, even though they haven't even learned to crawl yet under Aaron Glenn. But you could sense it in the air that there's something different. And I know maybe 4 years ago, I might have said the same about Robert Saleh and whatnot. The proof is going to be in the pudding. But do you feel a little Parcells-esque in the air of accountability, discipline, where he's going to have this team ears pinned, ready to get the quarterback and ready to get that win?
I know I see the discipline. I see him, and he does get angry on his guys, and he faces them face to face. How they react to that is a different story. Like Kenny had said, what we didn't see much in these 2.5 preseason games. It's not like the old days when you had played 4 games and they would be playing each quarter, build up for the season. We don't know what's going to happen. To be honest, we didn't see anything. What's going on? So right now, this first game is going to be. We'll start to see what this team is made up of, and we're going to see what kind of offense this Engstrom does. We're going to see what kind of defense we're going to run. We've said this from the beginning. It's totally unknown right now. We're going to hope for the best. We're going to hope for the best and see what happens. And guys have to step up. We didn't hit on some guys.
Do you think it hurts teams having that extra preseason game?
The extra preseason game?
Yes. Yeah.
It hurts them?
Do you think it hurts a lot of teams and a lot of players to make the team? And not only that, because I remember in years past, you have 4 games, third game, you would have the starters out there for at least a full half, at least to get their mojo going. But you can't have that anymore. You can't. So
I'm too worried about injuries now.
Could it hinder teams, or do you like how things are right now, Afram?
Well, you used to be able to, from the last CBA contract. Before that, you were able to run these guys longer, play harder, but that's changed. A lot of things have changed. He mentioned Brees, right? They don't cover running backs anymore. Back in the day, when I was watching, with Ken O'Brien and Walt Michaels, running back was coveted. You'd get him in the first round, but that's because DBs were allowed to do more things than they can do now. Once they changed the rules and let the DBs, let wide receivers get away with more than what the defensive back. Then it went into wide receivers were more coveted now. So the game keeps changing, more offensive. Like I said, this is a whole new regime. We really don't know anything about it because everyone was in. The only guy that has prior experience as a head coach is Wilkes, right? Rest are coordinators, and that's every team basically. They start off somewhere. We're just getting a bunch of them starting at the same time. So this first game is basically a really big first preseason game in essence, if you want to look at it that way.
Well, that kind of segues to my next question to Kenny. How do you see the Jets defense faring with Aaron Rodgers in week 1? Remember, this defense would face Aaron Rodgers every single day at practice. Do you feel, this is a topic that we brought on last night as well, do you feel that the Jets defense, when they're about to sack him or whatnot, do you think that they're going to kind of hold back and press on the brakes and just wrap him up gently? Or do you think they're going to pop him? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you got to remember the defense that he's seen when he was with the Jets going up against them in the practices hardly blitzed. I think that they're going to go at him. They're going to come off the corner. And when they get a chance to hit him, they're going to stick him. They're not going to hold back. And you're going to see blitzing there because, he does not escape the pocket. We know that.
Right.
And they're going to get in his face. And I think it's going to be an old fashioned, boxing match, that game. It's going to be very tight to the vest. The Jets are going to run the ball a lot. But, yeah, they're going to go at Rodgers. They're going to go full tilt. They're not going to hold back. And I could see Rodgers fumble with a couple of fumbles. Not saying he's going to lose them, but like I said, he cannot escape the pocket. He's not a mobile quarterback. And, Rodgers is going to want to stick it to Glenn because,
Yes.
like Rodgers said, he flew across the country to be told, we don't want you. It was a 2-minute meeting. So, he was like, and he came out and said it. They could have told me that on the phone. They could have told me that on a Zoom call. I'm thinking I'm coming, on a 5-hour flight to meet with the new regime and move forward and, let's run it back with me. And, so Rodgers, he may say it's just another game, but this is not no other game. And like I said, this is going to be basically a platform to jump off for Glenn to see, how he handles this because Rodgers in the back of his mind, he wants to stick it in our rear end. 100%. The way things ended by Glenn telling him, you're here for 2 minutes in the building with me, I'm showing you the door. So but like I said, getting back to your question, if they're gonna hit him, they're gonna hit him like we wanted to hit Tom Brady years back. They're gonna stick him.
Did you like what the Jets, how they handled it, how they handled the whole Rodgers thing? Would you have handled it differently? Or do you think that Aaron Glenn wanted to set a precedence to the locker room that I don't care who Aaron Rodgers is, he has to come to me to talk to me about his future with the Jets, or he could have done it over the phone? Would you have handled it differently?
I would have just did it on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the best way to do it. Why make the guy get on a plane for 5 hours? I would have did it on a Zoom call, and that way it's it seemed a little different. Like the shoe dropped softer than basically coming into the building for a 2-minute conversation and turning back around and heading back out to the airport. So I would have did it over the phone.
Could it have even turned 180 on that point? Because I feel like Aaron Rodgers is so enigmatic where, let's say if they would have done a Zoom call, he would have lashed out on the media and say, look, these guys are gutless. They didn't even want to see me face to face. It's like, it's such a conundrum with Aaron Rodgers. Like we had Trey Wingo last year, and hopefully we'll have him on this year, where he's like, it's Aaron Rodgers, guys. You don't know what you're going to get with him. And he's out there. He's just an out there kind of personality, where now he comes back to MetLife, and he was saying it, I think earlier this week, where he was posed, hey, what about your time with the Jets? And he said the best part of it was coming out of the tunnel in that week 1. And then the worst part was 3 plays later.
Yep.
I think it's bittersweet. I got to be honest. Maybe I'm the only one that's thinking like this, but I think Aaron Rodgers really enjoyed being a New York Jet. Am I wrong on that, Afram?
He enjoyed being in New York.
Not a Jet?
As fourth play, he gets hurt. I don't know. He's a strange character. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
When you could look at it this way, Aaron Gates says, "You want to play for us?" His answer should have been, "I signed a deal. I'm still a Jet. I'm still the quarterback of this team." Not to say I'm interested. Interested in what? You're still a Jet. You're still under contract. It's not like we brought you in as a free agent coming in for that meeting.
No, 100%. Yeah. No, and once again, I want to thank everyone watching and listening right now. Anyone watching on X, hit that YouTube link right there. Hop over, hit the subscribe button. It definitely means the world to us. And again, the link is here. If you want to just share your opinions and perspectives, by all means, come right into the chat, and we'd love to speak to you. Now, Kenny, again, I thank you and I appreciate you coming into Jets Afterburners, but I want to kind of pick your brain on this alongside with Afram. We're long tenured Jets fans. Afram, you even said the words Ken O'Brien. So many Jet fans nowadays, they don't even know who this guy is right here. I don't know if you guys can see him. I had his autograph here, thankfully for Armand, that had the balls to go up to him while I was interviewing him to get that signature. When is it our time? When is it going to be our time? Look at the Kansas City Chiefs for the longest, right? It was between the Jets and the Chiefs for the longest gap of winning a Super Bowl. And I remember watching the Kansas City Chiefs when they traded for Joe Montana. Then they had Steve Pallor, like 5 years before that. They had Steve Bono, Dave Craig. They were like on the same parallel with the Jets, same thing. Then all of a sudden, they got the right coach, they drafted the right quarterback, and the rest is history. Their trajectory is completely on a different stratosphere than the New York Jets.
Their planets aligned.
Their planets aligned. When are our planets?
Our planets are exploding.
I mean, what's going on? When is it it's got to come soon, right, guys? Kenny,
we haven't had any consistency. We have, it's like it's immediate, gratification, and it just didn't happen. We had, and I go back to 78, right? With Matt Robinson, but then Richard Todd, and then the sack exchange in 82, and
Afram, you remember
Walt Michaels has words
Pat
with
Ryan started the playoff game,
yeah,
against the Chiefs and beat them.
Yeah,
he had a gun though, and then not for nothing. So many people forget about Pat Ryan. I thought he had one of the strongest arms in the NFL. The way how he would cock that arm back in the ball.
He took the hit. He stayed in the pocket. He took the hit. He made sure he got that ball out.
He broke his ribs one year. He did break his ribs one year. Yeah. With a flak jacket.
He kept playing, right?
Yep. He kept playing.
What a beast. So was Ken O'Brien, man. Ken O'Brien was also a monster.
Ken O'Brien was underrated. He had a gun.
Yes.
He just didn't have.
He held on to the ball too long.
Yeah, he held on to the ball too long. Richard Todd gave us that 1 year in 81. Like a la Vinny Testaverde in 90 and 98. He gave us that one magical year when they wind up beating the Dolphins to, basically make the playoffs. They had to beat the Packers in the last game of the year, but he had a good season. And then obviously we all know what happened with the Mud Bowl. So that's what knocked the Jets out. Yeah.
Not fun. Well, you know what? I want to pose a hypothetical to both of you here, and this is a fun one, right? Because
I'm depressed now.
No. Well, you're going to get even worse.
As my good buddy Joe Meningo says, "Oh, the pain! The pain!"
I remember you brought Richard Todd, and you had that streak in that year, and then I think Buffalo was the playoff wild card game, whatever. And
that's when Bruce Harper fumbled the opening kickoff in the playoff game.
And then I think we thought we were coming back on that game, and we were
Bill Simpson.
And then I think he threw a pick, right?
Yeah, the Jets were going in for the winning touchdown, and Todd got picked off in the end zone by Bill Simpson. That was we were down like 20 points in the first
Yeah.
half of that game. Like I said, Bruce Harper fumbled the ball, the opening kickoff.
Well, Edward just took the thunder right out of my scope here. So this is what I want to say. This is the hypothetical. Let's say the Jets would have drafted Dan Marino. Do you think Marino would have finally had a Super Bowl? Because if you think about it, he had Mark Clayton, Mark Duper, but with the Jets, he would have had Wesley Walker, Al Toon, Freeman McNeil behind him, the sack exchange.
He would have had Rob Moore too, I think.
No, Rob Moore came later on. He came in the 90s. I'm talking about the 80s.
Yeah.
Like
Lamb
that
Jones.
85.
No, he came in the 80s, Rob Moore.
Rob Moore played with Boomer.
Toon. Played with Toon.
That was in
That
90s.
was at the end. That was in
Yeah.
that was in the early 90s. Yeah. But we had Johnny Lamb Jones was the other wideout.
So let's do it. 86, the 86 season where we started off 10-1, right? Let's say Marino was the quarterback. Do we face the Giants in 86?
100%. 100% because they went up against well, you got to remember that year they went up against the was it the Bengals or that was I'm trying to think the year that you're talking about. That was when we lost to Cleveland in double overtime.
Yeah.
That
That
game.
was in it. Yes, that was the one. That was the one where we had the game won, but Mark Gastineau danced, which again, to me, it's ridiculous that they threw the flag. The guy is just celebrating.
And I'm
That's
going to
all
tell
he's
you,
doing.
and I'm going to tell you a story about that. The Gastineau, it was actually, and I spoke to the gentleman. Carl Howard came on a blitz, and it was actually Carl Howard that had the late hit. And Gastineau got the penalty because he was the one that, after the hit, fell on him. But I think still that was a bogus call. I think to this day, that was a horrendous call. But that was the year. Yeah, we wind up. That wasn't the year that I'm going back to '82. I remember those playoff years. But that was the Mud Bowl '82. But you're talking about '86 when we lost to Cleveland. Yeah, they would have. If we had the original question, Marino, we go on and play the Giants in the Super Bowl that year because we had the high powered offense. Freeman McNeil was still very good. Freeman, and if they would have had Marino, yeah, they get to the Super Bowl.
And Mickey Schuler.
Schuler.
How many times, right? Like
Oh.
now we faced the Bill Parcells Giants in the 86 Super Bowl. I don't think it would be a route like how they routed the Denver Broncos with Elway's first Super Bowl. And this is a question for both of you. Do you think it would be a close game and we lose? Or do we win that game with Marino at quarterback?
Well, now you're talking about the Giants' first Super Bowl, right?
Yes, that's the one. That's the year that we went 10-1.
Yeah, they beat the Broncos. The Giants. They beat.
Yep, exactly. So in place of the Broncos, it would be us.
I think it would have been. I think it would have been decided by a one-score game. And you remember, and if my memory serves me correct, the Giants were losing at halftime. That game, I think they were losing 10-9 at halftime. If my memory serves me right, if you can, if you want to look it up, and then the Giants just blew them out in the second half. So it would have been a one-score game. It would have been.
Afram, would you like to play along?
My memory is getting shoddy as I get older. So yeah,
all right,
Marie. No, I don't know. It would have been a fun game to watch. That's for sure.
Who would have drafted Ken O'Brien then?
Probably Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
There were a lot of quarterbacks drafted that year.
I think Mark Malone was drafted that year. I think.
Or I could Todd Rutledge, right?
Todd Rutledge with Kansas City.
Tony Eason.
Tony Eason was Ken O'Brien's best friend, believe it or not.
Tony Eason was the Patriots.
Yep.
Then he went to Cleveland, to Kansas City, right?
Yes, but then Eason was traded to the Jets in '88.
Yes.
Wow.
Easton played in the Super Bowl. Did he play against the Bears?
Yes.
85?
But Grogan started.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, man. Yeah, there we go, Vinny. That's right. Finally, someone. Forza Napoli. That's right. Exactly. Let's do it. A little something there for the Italians. I wanted the Italian quarterback that the Giants let go.
DeVito.
DeVito, but the Pats got him.
But listen, if we got to rely on DeVito, then you know the season's gone haywire.
I know. I it's just that, I'm a big quarterback guy, and I always want to see the Jets grooming a young kid. We don't have that. Yeah, we got that Cook kid. Again, I don't know anything about the guy. I know that he played with Membao somewhere in the Midwest, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, Sean, you're right.
Well,
Damn, man.
well, I was wrong. I wanted Kyle McCord, and obviously he hasn't worked out, and he was cut by the Eagles. So, I guess I was wrong on that one.
No, they signed him back on.
But
Signed him back on.
The Eagles got him on the practice squad, so nobody
Yeah.
picked him up. Kyle McCord, remember, he went up against Cam Wooden in the
Mhm.
game last year against Syracuse versus Miami, and they both put 40 points on the board.
That's right.
You just don't know. You just you don't know how they transition into the NFL. That's why it's a crapshoot in the draft. You just hope for the best that you hit. Sometimes you hit, and sometimes, a lot of times you don't. So,
well, you look at last year's draft, the previous year with Penix and Bo Nix. I guess they especially Denver, looks like they hit. And listen, we played Bo Nix earlier in the year, and he looked horrible.
Right.
We wind up losing the game.
field goal
he
miss.
looked horrible. So you just never know. You got it's time.
And we'll see how
will
if he
tell.
does it again this year. To see how well he develops this year.
I want to bring Luca back into this equation here, and I want to just pose one more question here before we wrap it up. Braylon Allen, this guy seems like a complete powerhouse when he gets the ball, and he's hitting the hole quicker than Brees. I got to be honest. He takes the rock and just blows it right through, and I think in the preseason he was averaging 4 yards a carry. Do you think he's going to roll this over into the regular season, or do you think the workhorse is still going to be Brees Hall? Luca.
I think to start, Brees Hall may get most of the carries, but if Aaron Glenn is seeing that Brees Hall is still slow, doesn't have great vision, maybe dropping passes and fumbling the ball, I think the bulk of the carries will eventually carry it over to Braylon Allen. But at the start of the season, I think Brees Hall starts off as the lead back. But again, it's running back by committee, so it's going to be split amongst 3 running backs. But at the end of the day, it'll start out with Brees Hall, I think. But I think Braylon Allen right now is definitely the faster player, and he's also the one with better vision.
Excellent. Kenny, what do you think?
I think coming out of the gate, you're going to see Brees Hall as the number 1 back, and they're just going to ride him. But if he's not putting up the numbers, you're going to hear the boos. You're going to hear the frustration. The backup player is always the fan favorite.
Always, no matter what.
Always a fan favorite, no matter what position. So if Brees, he's not seeing the hole and not hitting it, if it's there and he's bumping it outside instead of taking it through the A gap, then you're going to see Braylon Allen, get inserted. And, if he starts playing better, you got to ride the hot hand. So I think it's very important for Brees Hall to get out of the gate quick. But like I opened up the show with, even with that, if Brees Hall gets out of the gate quick and he's playing well and the Jets are not winning games, they're going to move him. So, like I said, Braylon Allen, he's, you at least you got somebody you can trust. So it'll just he could fill the gap, and obviously Isaiah Davis is there. We got the other Kevon, however you pronounce his name, he's there. And they kept Donovan Edwards on the practice squad? So
No, he got picked up.
He got picked up, which
Washington, I
that's
think, claimed him.
Yep.
Washington picked him up.
Commanders, yeah.
Yeah, so listen, he was a big time player in college. In
Mhm.
Michigan, he had those 2 huge runs in the championship game.
Huge.
That speaks volume. But you listen, as we said, running backs are a dime a dozen. They're the most piece that can be changed on a football team. You just slide them in. The Denver Broncos did that for years. It seemed like every 2 years they had a superstar running back. So,
Can't run without a line.
You can't.
well, supposedly the Jets got a line on paper, but
Yeah,
you know what that means on paper. Let's see. Hopefully the paper don't burn up.
You know what I find interesting? That the starting five, right, especially the center, Glenn hasn't committed to Titman at center. It might be Myers and Titman to guard. That means one of the guards, which is Simpson, would be the backup. Are you guys
We'll
cool
say
with
this.
that?
Well, I'll say the Simpsons didn't practice today. From what
Okay.
I read on the internet, from I think it was a Jets beat reporter who said, I don't remember, it was might have been Rosenblatt, but I could see a scenario where Titman slides to guard in the case that Simpson's hurt, but it can't possibly be, if Simpson's healthy, that Titman's a guard, God forbid, or Myers even plays. I don't think I would be happy with that.
I honestly, I'm probably one of the few. I honestly like Titman more at guard than center, and I'd rather Myers at that position where Justin Fields is so comfortable with Myers, especially him being his center at Ohio State. But again, that's just me. But I just feel like maybe that's the overall plan right now because they want to have depth on the offensive line. They picked up some guy named Essa or something like that yesterday.
Essa Pole.
Yeah, he's a big dude, man. He's a monster. And it seems like the Jets have that, and if you could kind of stash away Simpson just for a little bit, God forbid something happens, you have your elite five back at it again. Are you guys okay with Titman with guard, or you want him at center? Afram, I'll start with you.
No, I want to see the same five guys. I don't need to stop playing around and putting a guy who's just a average center with the Packers. You're paying him only $3 million. You're paying the other guy, more money as a higher draft pick. He's been playing better than Josh Myers. I just think they're giving him more reps just to get him in tune with the offense. But
this is
I think Glenn is just trolling the media by just giving them vague answers as far as who's playing center.
What do you think of this? The reason Titman might play guard is because AVT might play right tackle because Membo is struggling. Is that a legitimate reason as well to do something like this? I honestly think so, but that would mean, so you would push Titman to right guard. But I never saw him play right guard though.
He has.
Oh, he has.
I think he has. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's got versatility. He was a guard in college, and then they switched him into center also. So
I mean that if you could bring him along slowly, Mambao, that is, I think Kenny, you would not like that, right? Especially your reaction during draft day. You would not like him on the bench.
No. Listen, if when Membo was picked, he better be starting.
Yeah.
You can't turn this into another, offensive line fiasco. He's got to start. What I think, like I said, Simpson's a little banged up. I think Glenn is just seeing, okay, if Simpson's not available, this is what I got to go with. But the gentleman that just mentioned that Membo's struggling, where there's smoke, there's fire. So there's got to be some truth to it. But we're gonna find out soon. We're gonna find out in 9 days what the line is.
Is there a surprise player that you guys think might come out of this season where we're like, whoa, where did he come from? Luca.
On the offensive side of the ball, you're just talking overall in general.
Overall.
Maybe Malachi Moore. Maybe. You guys? Kenny?
Well, I think on the offensive side of the ball, obviously, I mentioned the wide receiver out of Georgia.
Yep.
He could stretch the field. On the defensive side of the ball, Cisco. I think Cisco's going to be a ball hawk.
That's a big one. Afram?
This kid they got from on defense, the kid got there from the Vikings.
Harrison
Oh.
Phillips.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think he's gonna shut down the runs, and basically he's gonna make it easier for these guys on the edge to.
I think it's a good combo all around with the offensive line, the smash mouth football that we're going to have, that ground and pound 2.0 again, the defense that to me, it could be absolutely a top 3, top 5 defense when it's all said and done. I think we got some good days ahead of us as Jet fans, and rightfully so, and long overdue, right, guys? Come on now. I mean, enough is enough.
Enough is enough. You know, I just want to see competitive football.
Yes.
How many times have we turned on a game in the last few years where basically it's like
Ugh.
8 minutes in and you're down 14-0, 10-0, and now you're just an uphill battle. Then it's 17-0, and you're like, okay, now what? Put on the red zone?
Right.
It's just a struggle. It's just been a struggle to enjoy the games. Well,
You want competitive coaching because that will lead to competitive play. You want
well,
the
you
coaching
talk
to be
about
good.
Efren. You bring up a good point with the coaching. And what was our number one Achilles heel? The too many men on the field, the unnecessary roughness penalties, and that did not go away in the preseason. It was still there. So
We
especially
play behind all
Michael
the time.
Clemens.
We play behind
So
all the time.
yep.
No
So,
adjustments until the second half, and
mhm.
sometimes it's none after that.
I mean, Barney brings up a good point, right? We were competitive last year. We didn't have a kicking game. Had the queen have balls, she'd be king. But with that being said, if we would have made these field goals, maybe we would have been in the playoffs. Maybe.
But we still had penalty issues last year too, whether it was under Salah or under Ulbrich. There was no accountability. That was a part of the culture. So it wasn't just no kicker, no tackling. It was just also no discipline from either side of the ball, where back-breaking penalties would occur every single game, and nobody would get benched for it.
And you got a quarterback who's changing the play at the line and basically bringing it down to 1 second or delay of game.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. Which I think if you attack him, he's going to do the same thing with Pittsburgh.
I hope so. Again, there's not going to be a lot of motion or anything on that side either. It's Rodgers' team,
Well,
man.
I want to throw a question at you guys, if I may.
Yeah, please.
What's the under and over in games before Tomlin and Rodgers just basically have basically just don't agree on things? Because Tomlin, it's his team. When Rodgers was here with Salah and Ulbrich, it was Rodgers' team.
Yes.
So, how do you feel? That relationship. You think it's going to go south quickly?
After he says 5, I say 6.
5.
Wow.
It depends on the record at that 5 mark.
Mm-hmm.
I say, around 6, 7. It all depends because Aaron Rodgers is at the point of his career where he's going to let everyone know what his feelings are all about. So if they lose the game, just like he did with Mike Williams, he didn't run the red line or whatever line that was.
Mm-hmm.
He just said it out loud. And Tomlin is a very, disciplined, all about accountability. We'll handle it in-house. Aaron Rodgers doesn't care because Aaron Rodgers is going to have the mindset of, you guys called me. I didn't call you guys. You wanted my services. I was probably going to go into the sunset.
Here's the thing I want to see. Does he still do the McAfee show?
Wouldn't shock me if he still does.
No, but because, we talk about Tomlin being, the disciplinary and he doesn't want any.
I don't think he's as tough as people make him out to be, Tomlin. That's just my personal opinion.
That's a possibility. That's a really good point, Luca. Maybe this kind of unravels Tomlin. I like him as head coach, but I've been hearing that narrative and that common denominator for quite a while already, for the past 8 months, where Tomlin isn't exactly what we all think he actually is. It's just that he inherited a very good team. to go to the Super Bowl.
Just look at every season for the past couple of years with the Steelers. They always collapse at the end somehow. It's like they're very good to start. They go on hot streaks, and then they just collapse near the end. You saw it last year. They could have won the division. The Ravens ended up winning the division, if I'm not mistaken. Just in years past, you remember the 2020 season when they started? I think it was at 11-0. They eventually collapsed, lost in the first round. I mean, this guy hasn't won a first-round game since, 2017 against the Kansas City Chiefs before Patrick Mahomes. And another thing with Tomlin handling personalities, I don't think he handled Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown too often. I get those two are characters, but I don't think he handles personalities as well as people say.
He hasn't developed a quarterback since Roethlisberger left.
Facts. And he hasn't put up he hasn't put good staffs together. Look at the offensive side of the ball. He went through Todd Haley. He went through Randy Fichtner. There was Matt Canada, and now he's got Arthur Smith, who's about as mediocre as possible as an OC.
Well,
he's not as good as he was in Tennessee. And I think the Atlanta stint he had as a head coach didn't do him any favors either.
It's very true. Listen, boys, I want to thank all of you, Kenny, Afram, Luca, for hopping on here to make this show just get that gear a little bit higher. Everyone in the chat, thank you for chiming in as well, for watching. Please do not forget to hit and smash that subscribe button. That like button definitely helps us out. Guys, we will see you possibly Sunday night, or if not, next Thursday night at 9 p.m. Kenny, thank you so much, my man.
Oh, I appreciate it. Everybody listening and watching. Me and Sack Exchange, we're going to, obviously, the football season's here. We're going to start throwing up some Twitter Spaces, Jet Lounge, where we always pretty much get very good guests. The last big show we did, we broke the news with Jamal Adams. We had Jamal Adams on the show for 2.5 hours, and he answered every question. And Jamal has thanked me and Sack Exchange personally for basically leading the way for him to getting back into the NFL, because he did stick with the Raiders. He did not get cut. Right now, he's listed as a linebacker on their depth chart. So,
Excellent,
I said, we're going to be doing Jet Lounge Twitter Spaces again, and appreciate everybody.
Hop on there. Absolutely. Afram, thank you, my man, as always.
Also,
It's a pleasure to meet you, Kenny.
Same here.
You brought some good memories, some bad memories.
mostly bad.
That's all right. Listen, we're still watching the same team.
We're still watching. One day, God bless, that was still walking the earth. They win a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
And Luca, thank you, my man. And dude, plug it in, man. You do it. Do your thing.
I have it in my headline. Subscribe to my channel, Gangrene Chronicles, on YouTube. I'll be doing a Jets season preview show next Friday. Guests TBD at the moment, but also my handle on Twitter at Gangrene Crons too.
Guys, doesn't Luca have the best voice? Right?
Sounds like his brother.
Yeah, great. I love it, man. Absolutely. Check them out. And again, guys, thanks for everything, and have a great Labor Day weekend.
You
go
as well.
Jets. Let's rock and roll. Let's go Jets.
Quarterback, Ken O'Brien of California Davis.
Just 14 that first time, now going long. They got a wide open man, and he makes the catch. It's Braylon Edwards taking off. Braylon Edwards will take it home for the touchdown. 80.
First down in San Diego territory at the 47-yard line. Big draw. And Pennington going for 6. Deep down the field.